All right, hey guys. So my name is Nick Grigliano. I am a seventh grade social studies teacher at the junior high, and this is my ticket out the door. Just going over the kind of update or project that I did to take and incorporate more technology and the stuff we learned from Tech Camp. Um, excuse me. So the one main thing and the one main class that I used for this particular one was Beth Reyes's interactive Google Slides. It is I used a lot of what she taught in that class. It's an old PowerPoint that used to be really incredibly painfully boring, talking all about geography. So I wanted to update it, and I want to go through this month and kind of update some of my PowerPoints so that they're a little more interactive, they're a little more engaging, and they're not boring and stale and all of that. I already had Pear Deck in here. I've been using Pear Deck for about a year and a half now, since the halfway through my first year at the district. So that was already in here. That was already included. That was something I was using. But I included a couple more things that I learned about in both Beth's interactive Google Slides and in during Tech Camp. So I want to kind of go through that and talk a little bit about that with you guys. So, and just kind of show you what I did, what I have, and what I've incorporated into this. So, like I said, this is a PowerPoint on geography, and the background for the slides I got from Slides Carnival. That was something that Beth taught us and showed us and told us was it was something that existed. So I went ahead and used it for this just because my old PowerPoint, my old Google Slides that talked about geography was a white background with writing on the left, image, and an image on the right. And I was trying to update it and improve it and make it more engaging. So that's why I decided to use that Slides Carnival website, and why I chose this one, because I thought it was pretty simple and pretty cool. And it was going to be easy to bring text over that I already had and incorporate it into this theme and this background. So the first thing we come up on is the bell ringer that I'm going to use for them. I just want to fire their brains up, get them to start thinking about geography and geographic terms. So that's why I have this particular bell ringer right here. I only give them about 45 seconds to do it. On the third slide, we come to two things that I pulled from. This would mainly be from Beth, yes, and it might have picked it up a little bit from Kathy Donahue too. I don't remember, but if I did, I got to give her credit too. Otherwise, she'll kill me. I work in the same building as she does. So either way, the first thing you can see right off the bat is the Bitmoji that I included in my Google Slides that I created for myself. So that should at least get the kids to laugh a little bit, and maybe get them to think that I'm still hip. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. So that's my Bitmoji right there. And the other thing I included was I created a Jamboard for these geographic terms that I'm going to have them learn and figure out and kind of define and learn about. So pretty much my goal is to kind of make this student centered, but there's also going to be uh, a large part where I'm going over things with them and I'm talking about things with them. So what I have for this Jamboard and what I included in this is I included the definition that they've already seen right in the sticky note, and then an image for those that are a little bit visual and see things and are able to uh, have an easier time of associating an image with the definition, if that makes it easier for them to define the term and remember what term goes with what geographic uh, or what definition goes with what geographic term. There we go. So we can see, like I said, I have the definition, I have an image, and what I'm going to ask them to do, and I might break this up, or I might have them do all 15 boards at once. I haven't really decided what way I want to go with it yet, but what they are going to do is they're going to take and write the key term in this white space here, and that's going to hopefully be a little bit of review for them so that um, they can try to identify the term based on the definition or the image. Because what I'm probably going to have them do is I'm going to give them a page that has the definitions for all of the terms, and I'm going to ask them to define about 15 geographic terms or so, and then they're going to have to take and write those down. And then what they'll be able to do is they'll be able to use either the page of definitions that I gave them, the glossary page, or they'll be able to use their sheet of paper with the definitions they have written down so that they can write in here the key term that I'm looking for. So as you can see, I've got 15 total boards. There are water features, and there are also land features as well that that are features that they're going to talk about in 7th grade, they're going to talk about in 8th grade, they're going to talk about in 9th, 10th, and 11th, eventually when they get to the high school. So they will kind of talk about all of these, and all of these geographic features will be important. So like I said, I've got 15 of these boards, so it's 15 terms. So hopefully, if they've done the key terms and they've remembered what the words they defined, they'll be able to do this no problem. The other great thing, like I said, is I am actually going to go through this with them, and so that'll reinforce what they've already done themselves, hopefully. So what I will have them do is I will have them do this Jamboard by themselves. And then, like I said, I have been using Pear Deck for a while, so I'm going to go back through and I'm going to break these up. So I'm going to check to see how well they did on the first 3 water features, which are oceans, seas, and gulfs. And then after I look and see how they did, maybe fix some errors and talk with them about some errors that they might have made, I'm going to have them come back to the Google slide, and they're going to, in this Pear Deck, go ahead and draw an image that they think of when they think of an ocean, a sea, or a gulf. And even though I gave them an image in one of these slides, this one's the peninsula. Well, let me go ahead and go back real quick to the Gulf, because that's one that sometimes they copy and sometimes they don't. So a lot of times what I'll see when I ask them to draw, if they decide to draw a Gulf, what they will do is they'll kind of draw the outline of Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, come down, draw Mexico a little bit, Yucatan Peninsula and all that, and they will recreate this. They won't name anything. They'll maybe draw the Gulf, write the Gulf of Mexico, but that's about it. But they try to do it really simply, and that's all I'm looking for. That's all I'm asking for, because I'm not trying to turn them into artists of geographic features, because as I tell them in class, I am the single worst artist in the class. They're not going to get any worse than me, and so I am not grading them on, and I'm not assessing them on their ability. I just want to see that they know what we just went over, what we were talking about, and all of that. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of the Jamboard, is that they will be able to use those key terms that they have written down and defined, and then they'll be able to kind of make those guesses, and then we'll go over them, and they'll be able to not so much make the guesses, but identify those terms, and then we'll be able to talk about them in a little bit more detail and kind of go over them, and I can hit on really the major points and the major differences between some of them. For example, the difference between a strait and a channel, which is actually the second question I asked them after we've gone over oceans, lakes, or oceans, seas, and gulfs. The next 2 we talk about are straits and channels, and then they have this Pear Deck slide. Then we go ahead and we talk about lakes, rivers, and tributaries, and then they draw on this slide, and then we move into the land features. We talk about archipelagos and islands. We talk about, if that would kindly move, we talk about an isthmus, there we go, and a peninsula, talk about that a little bit, and then plains, prairies, and plateaus, just the difference of those. And we kind of try to take and get them to identify those and figure those out. So, and then I kind of assess them using these Pear Deck slides. So whether I will do these geographic features over 1 lesson or over 2 really all kind of depends on the schedule, and it depends on the Jamboard and how fast that moves. But if I had to break it up, I would break it up so that the water features were one day and the land features were another, just so it didn't get too confusing and they didn't get too lost. So that would be what I would do for that. And then eventually what we do after we get through the geographic features, we start to talk about latitude and longitude. I didn't mean to skip that. We start to talk about latitude and longitude where um, uh, that one's kind of a tougher concept for them to understand. They get really, really confused when you tell them that a line measuring north and south is horizontal and a line measuring east and west and the set of lines measuring east and west are actually vertical. They get really, really confused by that. So I kind of want to, I usually have this image up and have this image up to kind of give them an idea and help to try to explain to them why these lines are the way that they are. The other thing that I'm going to have them do in that I added, besides this wonderful looking Bitmoji right here, is I also added this video that I thought was pretty cool, and I linked it right to the globe. So that's why I have a Bitmoji of myself telling them to click and pointing it to the globe so that they can click it and they can watch that video and check out that video so that it'll give them a better explanation of latitude and longitude and all that. So that's what I want them to do. But then we talk about latitude and longitude. We talk about the equator and the prime meridian. And usually what that does is that sets up, me and the other social studies teacher at the junior high did this last year where we went outside and we had basically painted a giant grid on the lawn behind the junior high. And we had them take and find geographic points that were 10 stakes that were numbered all throughout the field. So this kind of sets that up, and then we do that activity another class, and that gives them a hands-on way of learning and figuring out latitude and longitude. So that's something that we like to do too, and that's something we did last year that I'm hoping we can do this year. So that's that, and then I have a couple of true-false questions that kind of review and assess how well they've learned latitude and longitude and the equator and the prime meridian. And then after we do that simulation hands-on activity, what I like to do, what we usually go into is talking about different types of maps. So I went ahead and I added this Bitmoji here to get them to click on the map so that they can go ahead and watch this video. It's a John Green video. It's not Crash Course, but I've always liked Crash Course. So it is a video talking about how maps can show things other than other information than where states are, elevation, geographic features, stuff like that. So I'm going to want them to watch that just to see all of the things that maps can tell them. And then I'm going to want them to focus on 4 types of maps: political, or physical maps, topographical, and historical. So we're going to go through those, talk a little bit about those. And then what I'm going to have them do is do this Pear Deck slide and have them kind of try to draw a political map or a topographical or a physical or a historical to the best of their ability. Once we do that, then we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the compass rose and the map key, map legend that is included on a map so that they can understand what those are and the purpose of those are, and that'd wrap up types of maps. And then the last part of this PowerPoint is the kind of learning about the continents and the oceans and just being able to identify them. That's another thing they have a hard time with. They are not 100% sure where the different continents are and where the oceans are. So I really try to do that also. So I'm going to give them this. I'll probably give them about 5-10 minutes to study this and to try to remember where everything is. And then what I'll do is I'll give them this blank map, and as a class, just kind of go through, point out the different continents and stuff, and have them take and identify it and stuff. Any volunteers, and then just kind of call on them and see how fast we can do it and all of that. And then after, I have this answer key right here, so that helps them to see whether they were correct or not correct. Obviously, having the answer key, obviously that does help. The other great thing is I use this on the test, so that'll, they've already seen it, so it'll be something that they take and are able to remember so that they can take and try to do a little bit better on the test and all of that. So after we do that, I have them take 3 minutes and outline one of the 7 continents to try to remember what the continents look like, and just to assess whether they remember or don't remember. And then the one slide that I added is I have them here taking and clicking on the Bitmoji of myself, kind of saying thank you and whatnot for paying attention and doing what they're supposed to. And the reason I do that is because I have a Padlet that is going to open for them, that they are going to have a chance to ask anywhere between 2 and 5 questions that they might want to ask about geography or anything that we learn in that geography segment and in that through that geography PowerPoint. There's a couple of reasons I want to do that. First of all, this is a great way to make sure that if we're in a remote setting, I'm able to know that my students have looked through that entire PowerPoint. They'll have to ask some questions. And depending on what their questions are, that'll tell me how far they got into it and all of that. The other thing that this will let me do is if I decide to create a bell ringer for the next class, the great thing is I can pull it right from these questions that are created on this Padlet. So I can take and pull it from there. And if I want to divide the kids up into 5 groups, I could pick 5 questions and then pass it out to those kids and have them look them up, try to find the answer, try to answer the question. Or if there's a lot of difficult questions, I can take and decide that I'm going to talk about it for the first part of the day because maybe they didn't understand it. There was something that I didn't explain well, and I can go ahead and update it and explain it better or something like that. So that's what this Padlet will allow me to do, and it'll give me a chance to do, and I'm really looking forward to being able to use it. I'm planning on using it in more places than just this unit because it'll be able to give me a chance to do the same thing that it does in this unit. So that's actually the last slide that I have. I've updated it and how I've kind of changed it. The great thing about this is I can go ahead and take any of this and I can take this into my face-to-face class if we have our hybrid model, or I can copy and paste these slides and put them in the remote learning slide deck. Whether I am using this to kind of teach the kids that are remote that day, or whether we are all remote, which knock on wood, hopefully we're not. Hopefully we are hybrid, but we'll see how everything goes. But this allows me to be pretty versatile, and I can adapt it to whatever I need to and whatever I want. So that is kind of the advantage, and I really enjoying all of the more interactive ways that I have been able to update this PowerPoint, because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Even I thought it was boring as I was going through it, and I was just kind of looking for ways to make it more exciting and to try to engage the kids a little more, and I think I've been able to do that, and I'm pretty happy with how it is and what it looks like to this point. It doesn't mean that I can't improve it, but it's better than it was last year, and that I'm happy about. So that pretty much sums up my my ticket out the door. That's what I was going for. So with that said, I hope you guys have a fantastic summer. And some of you I will catch when the school year starts, some of you not. But I hope you all have a great school year and enjoy the rest of your summer. Have a great day, guys.